Hey guys, this is Ashish from Guiding Tech, and in today's video, I'm going to compare the cameras of Samsung Galaxy M31 with the Realme 6 Pro. And I know that Poco X2 is around the same price segment, and we all know that the camera is really something. But if you are confused between Samsung and the Realme phone, this video is for you. And in this video, I'm going to talk about everything. I mean, the daylight photos, the macros, the ultra wide, the night photos. So, well, it's going to be a long video, but definitely worth it. So, well, what are we waiting for? Let's get started. So let's kick things off with the daylight shot, and let me assure you, both the phones are doing a fair amount of saturation here. However, if you see the background, you'll notice that the M31 offers a better dynamic range than the Realme device. That said, for most people, the subject is what deserves the primary attention, and that's where Realme shines. If you zoom in into the bud, you'll notice that while both the phones have equal detailing, the 6 Pro also manages to keep the stem into focus, and that's a massive difference if you ask me. And just for that very reason itself, I feel safe in saying that the Realme result here is better. But that's just one image, and we are just getting started. Now in the next shot, things start to get a little more interesting. The Realme 6 Pro goes for a more warmer image, while the M31 goes a neutral tone with higher contrasts. Once again, the M31's higher dynamic range shows, but apart from that, the overall image also looks balanced. Now, when you pixel peep, there are two main factors that come out. First off, in terms of direct details on the subject, both the phones are able to capture the swing pretty well, and there's no difference per se. However, if you zoom in the background, you'll notice that the Realme 6 Pro has better details throughout. Now, it's not that important, but it's something that you guys should know about. And you should also know about the fact that we always provide the full resolution download images in the description of the video. So go ahead, download the images so that you can see these details for yourself. And now we'll move on to the next sets of images. Okay, so here things turned out to be quite different from what I had expected. The M31 goes for a flatter and neutral image, while the 6 Pro delivers more vibrant colors. However, in most cases, I think Realme does a better job. Here's why. First off, the leaves in the top right corner. They look much better on the Realme. Yes, they're warmer, but at least you can make out that they are green. While on the M31, they are leaning more towards a brownish tone. Now, what I'm trying to say here is that while there is saturation, it's quite controlled and does make the image look more appealing to the eye. Now, credit where it is due, which is what, if you pixel peep, Samsung seems to capture a slightly more detailed shot. Now next up, here's a beautiful shot of a tree, which also gives you an idea on the natural bokeh that both the lenses offer. Once again, the difference in terms of colors is easily noticeable, with the M31 offering more natural colors, while the 6 Pro goes in for a bit saturation. Now when you pixel peep once again, both the phones perform neck to neck in terms of details, while the M31 slightly edging things out. However, the bigger win in terms for details is Samsung here when you take into account the edges of the tree, while they look natural bokeh. The M31 manages to keep things crisp, while the 6 Pro smoothens the edge out. So far we have seen that Realme 6 Pro images are slightly bit more saturated when you compare it with the Samsung M31 images. But then, when there is some yellow or some brown tone in the photo, Samsung also saturates the photo to bring out that warm effect. Now, this is something that I have seen throughout the photos that are shot for this particular video. So to check that out, have a look at this image. The walls, the backdrop, and the most importantly, the red pipe, all under the direct sun means it will be a natural warm image. And as a result, the M31 leans to an aggressive saturation in the image, which is easily noticeable. I mean, so much so that the side by side with the Realme 6 Pro shot looks as if it has a cooler tone, when in reality, even the 6 Pro is warming and saturating things a tad bit. Now this same behavior carries forward in the next shot of a mini garden, which should highlight the main characteristics of the M31. The shot is quite warm, there's a lot of saturation going on, and while the image does look good, no doubt it also doesn't seem realistic. That said, this shot is going to be tough for a camera smartphone, since the algorithm that most devices have is to make plants and flowers pop out, something that this shot has an abundance of. Now, me and Varun were working simultaneously for this particular camera comparison. I mean, we were working separately from our homes, but I think that I should give him a call to summarize all these day photos for you guys. What say? Let's call him. So over to you, Varun. And hi, what's up?
Hey man, what's up? Just enjoying the quarantine life hotels.
I know. So, well, we discussed it. And what do you feel about the daylight photos of both the phones? I mean, viewers want to know.
So yeah, thanks for asking my opinion. I think what we both can agree on is that while the M31 does capture more detailed shots overall, and it also relies more on neutral color tones, there is definitely a loophole inside its software processing. Now, the way Realme actually tackles that loophole is by saturating each and every image that it takes to a certain level. And in most cases, that level of saturation does make the image more appealing to the eye, and at least to my eye. I am kind of a person who usually prefers neutral color images and usually does more after tuning in Snapseed or other editing apps out there. But I think for people who just want good images taken right out of the box, the Realme 6 Pro is definitely a better choice, at least in daylight photography.
Of course, I mean, you have done it. I mean, it was a wonderful summarization, and I also feel the same. So, and trust me, I mean, review aside, I seriously can't wait to have you back as an anchor, man. Like, I really want to. I mean, I really want all this to end, and I hope most of our viewers would agree on that, right? I mean, seriously.
Hopefully.
So yes,
I can't wait to be back, man.
Yes, I completely understand. So let me just carry on with the anchoring part of this particular video.
Yeah.
So after that, let's now move on to the ultra-wide sensor, and things are, well, pretty much as I expected. Right off the bat, you can see Samsung offers a much wider field of view, which is something that we have seen on every Samsung device out there. But apart from that, what gives Samsung the extra lead here is that the lens correction as well. Yes, it still has that fisheye effect going on, but if you zoom into the edges, you'll notice that the image quality is much better on the M31 than the Realme 6 Pro. Also, while Samsung has gone for a slightly warmer image, Realme has actually cooled things down. Not by comparison, but it has indeed captured a slightly cooler image, which could be due to the extra blues in the frame. Now, I don't make a big fuss of it, but still, it feels worth pointing out. Nevertheless, it's clear that Samsung wins this round easily. Now next up, we have full resolution 64 megapixel shots. At first glance, it's evident that Realme 6 Pro captures a higher contrast while the M31 goes for a weirdly washed out image. Personally, I don't like either of these shots in full version cause the colors are bad, the dynamic range just isn't there, and neither of them really look appealing to my eye. That said, the main reason for clicking a 64 megapixel shot is that you can zoom into the details, and when you do that, things get quite interesting. At 100% crop, you can see that both the phones rely more on over-sharpening than a full resolution power per se. Like here, you'll notice that essentially both the images highlight the text just the same, and it's just the slight color difference that separates the two. That said, neither of them is really sharp, you know? Now you might argue that it's a very far off subject I'm talking of. Well, take a look at the lamp post then. The danger sign here clearly gives away the software processing on both the devices, which highlights that they rely on over-sharpening more than the actual power of the lenses. Now before you all say that Poco X2 is hands down better, like when you compare with both the devices, so well, how about you watch the comparison as well? Yes, I'll be linking all the videos that we have done around Poco X2 comparison in the description of the video so that you can go ahead and check that out as well. And now let's move on to the macro sensor, and this is clearly an area where Realme gets the points. The M31 manages to capture a decent shot, but the 6 Pro has a stronger over-sharpening game going on that produces more crisper shots. Now this is also due to a bit of a playing with the contrast here, but the end result produced is something that everyone will appreciate. So well, after that, let's talk about portrait photos. And well, I guess that it is one of the most used features of a smartphone camera, human shots with the portrait mode. So in normal mode, you can see that both the phones capture an equally good image, with the M31 exhibiting a more detailed and crisper photo. But what I want to focus on here is the cooler profile, more especially the skin tones, cause when you turn on the portrait mode, God knows what happens to the M31. The skin looks so white and there is a sort of beauty filter on my face even though I had that turned off in the settings. The Realme 6 Pro on the other hand keep things constant with the same color profile and sharpness, which is good to see. In the next shot as well, the normal mode of the M31 looks a tad bit overall better. However, the color profiles are actually better on the 6 Pro, which is evident by that t-shirt. It's a black t-shirt that I'm wearing, and while the 6 Pro highlights that perfectly, the M31 tends to overexpose it a bit. Now turning on the portrait mode, and once again there is an apparent shift in the color profiles and smoothness of the M31. The 6 Pro does a better job, and while either of these images are exactly crispy, the edge detection on the 6 Pro is a bit better. And now let's move on to the rear video, and it's a clear-cut victory for the Realme 6 Pro. The phone offers much better dynamic range here along with a stabilized footage. The M31 on the other hand has an overexposed subject, lacks stabilization, and with the variable frame rate of 25 to 30 FPS, it really gives you the feeling of frames being skipped, especially while panning the camera around. So this is a no-brainer and Realme 6 Pro wins this round easily. Now switching side to the front camera, and the very first thing that you'll notice is that the sun in the background, and both the phones offer a high dynamic range, though the M31 has a slight edge here. As for the subject, the M31 is slightly more detailed, but it's very slight margin. Other than that, the main difference here in terms of color profile, with the Realme 6 Pro going for a warmer image, while the M31 produces a much more neutral image. Now turning the portrait mode on, the 6 Pro loses its dynamic range, while the M31 excels. That said, with the extra lens on the 6 Pro comes in handy, and this is despite being an ultra-wide sensor, helps in the depth and offers much better edge detection in contrast to the M31. Now in the next shot of the sun directly falling on my face, the M31 is once again more detailed and true to life, while Realme image is softer and warmer. However, turning the portrait mode on, the 6 Pro shot looks so much crisper. The edge detection is spot on, and while the M31 still sort of struggles, especially if you zoom into the shoulder and my cheeks. So from what I can see, M31 gives you a better selfies in the normal mode, but then the portrait mode of the Samsung is quite messed up. And here there's one more advantage on the Realme 6 Pro is that you get an ultra wide camera, but then there is nothing to compare. So here are some of the images that we have shot using the ultra wide sensor of the Selfie on the Realme 6 Pro. Now moving on to the selfie videos, the story kinda remains the same, which is that without a portrait mode. The M31 actually captures better selfies like in the footage that you see. You'll notice that the M31 not only has a dynamic range once again, but also produces a sharp footage, especially if you check out my beard. It's not like the 6 Pro is lagging behind, but the M31 is definitely producing a crisper footage here. Now, turning the lights off, here's a shot of my keyboard. Now in the normal mode, both the phones actually perform quite similarly and there's hardly much to separate here. That said, once you turn on the night mode, the difference is right there. At first, I thought that the M31 has a better photo, but the amount of noise it has is a big letdown, especially that this is with the night mode. Now on the Realme 6 Pro, on the other hand, things aren't as crisp as I would have expected them to be, but the overall shot is still pretty good. Now in the next shot, I think that you will get a better idea of what I'm saying. In the normal mode, the M31 is slightly better at exposing the subject, but both the images have an equal amount of noise. Turn the night mode on and the Realme 6 Pro captures a true exquisite shot. The M31 produces a hazy and a noisy shot if you compare it to the Realme. Now for the low light selfie, to be honest, it's hard to pick a winner here since both the phones are equally bad, to be honest. The M31 produces more light, but the face isn't sharp. The Realme 6 Pro on the other hand looks comparatively sharper, but the overall darkness is a complete letdown. And I'll let you guys be the judge here on the low light selfies, but I really don't like any of them. So now the $1 million question is, which one should you be picking? The Realme 6 Pro or the Samsung M31 for the camera? So well, I would pick the Realme 6 Pro over the Samsung M31 here, and there's a reason. I mean, apart from the camera, the design is better, the processor is also better, and that marginal difference in the photograph is also something that I'm inclined more towards the Realme 6 Pro. But then our choices might be different, and for that I would really appreciate if you want to go ahead, download the photos, check out them in the full resolution, and you can just go to the description of this video, click on the download link, and all the photos and videos will be right there on your computer. Yes. And if you like this video, please do give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do hit that subscribe button now. So well, that's all for this video, and I hope to see you in our next one. Until then, take care and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.